It was really nice talking to you, and you really figured some stuff out. That was amazing.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
This is our home.
Then let's fight for it.
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. And I'm very excited to have a chance to talk with you about this series. And I used to think that Wanda deserved a standalone film because a very complex character, and she is, of course, one of the most powerful beings in the MCU. But then I watched WandaVision, and I understand why this story had to be told through a series and not a movie.
Yeah.
And it's because Wanda is more fascinating than we all thought. So it's a character. So what do you think about that? Not a possibility of a film, but why a series is the right way to tell Wanda's story?
I think there are ways that maybe there could have been a film, but it wouldn't be as satisfying, because I really do feel like the DNA of our show is her experience and her relationship to Vision. And with the comics, when Wanda and Vision in the suburbs, and when Wanda and Vision get to play house with their kids, and I think that access point of sitcoms and the tension between American sitcoms and the MCU is something that tension that lives in between is really going to burst down the door of her story. And so I love the way it unravels. And I think Jack Schaefer, our writer, did a really clever job with keeping so much of her emotional life, which is so much of her character in the films. And then now we get to see all these other aspects of her, and it all leads to this amazing end, really. I mean, it's a great, like, she becomes, you know, this, we watch her become this woman from being like an angsty younger, you know, adolescent.
We just don't know what to expect.
But in Mexico, we don't have sitcoms. We have a lot of telenovelas, dramatic telenovelas. So I was thinking about Wanda and Vision in a drama series, you know, like a telenovela, and not in a sitcom, and doesn't even make sense in my mind. But I would like to know if there is a reason to choose the classic American sitcom instead of another genre of comedy or even a more dramatic twist.
There is a reason. You will learn that reason, but you just have to watch the show. But I love the idea of Wanda and Vision in a telenovela. So maybe that's season 2 on Disney+.
Yeah, that will be more dramatic than it is.
It's twilight time.
Wanda and Vision, aren't we a five-pair?
This is our home now. I want us to fit in.
The classic sitcoms from the golden age of television, like I Dream of Janine, and the MCU, for me, have something in common, and it's that we can use these productions to escape from reality. Both can be funny, entertaining, and very emotional. And that's, for me, is the key element with WandaVision, because Wanda herself is trying to escape from her reality through this series, and that connection for me is genius. So what do you think about that? That in a certain way, sometimes we are all trying to escape from our reality through a series or a mental projection like Wanda?
Yeah, I think you've really hit the nail on the head there, is that, that it is not, it's really fun that we're, you know, hurtling through the American century in these different eras of sitcom, but it's not an arbitrary decision, that there is a real reason that we're there. One of the wonderful things about sitcoms and movies is that there is usually a central problem that is eminently soluble. It can be solved and made better. And of course, real life often isn't like that. So it's the reason I think people are going to love seeing this show, and it's also why the show is actually more layered and interesting than at first it might seem.
I think that concept has never been, it's never been more true for me, I should say, especially at this time right now, going through the pandemic. And I found, like, I've always appreciated movies and television, but during this year quarantine, I found myself longing for it in a very different way, in that way of escape, and to see Wanda trying to process her grief, because we all know what happened in Endgame and Infinity War, and how she processes her grief and what's real for her, what's not, and this world she's in. I could definitely relate.
Well, I think, yeah, entertainment in general is that for so many of us, that it's offering, comfort and entertainment, and we lean in for that reason too. And I think the history of TV has been that way, and the shows that we referenced in the early part, Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, all the way up to today, we're doing the same idea. But yeah, I'm excited for people to watch the show and watch the journey. The show beats with a big heart, and it's a romance, it's an adventure, it's a mystery, and ultimately it is about that love story between Vision and Wanda, and I'm excited for people to watch it.
I think something's wrong here.
Wanda, can you read me? Who's doing this?
Catherine, we can see that you are constantly jumping through different decades of television, and that's crazy because in essence, you have to play exactly the same character, but the body language, the vocabulary, the music, the costume is completely different. And you emulate those sitcoms to tell one story, but in different realities. And that is quite unique, and I think it's great. So how was to adopt all these different concepts for a same character?
It was an actor's, I was so excited by the challenge of it. Like, I didn't know, like, when they first told me about this idea, I was like, I don't know how we're gonna pull this off, but it sounds so fun. And I was just so excited by it, because you're right, it was like the challenge was to keep her her spine the same throughout all of, for all of us, was to keep like our specific, like the insides the same while the exterior keeps changing. So yeah, that was a real challenge, but oh my goodness, was it fun. And we, they made it very easy for us because of this, and it's not like we had to imagine anything. It was like these incredible production artists worked on this, and these costumes and the hair and the makeup and the production design and the way it was shot and the amazing dialect coach we had that would just kept sending us material. So they made it really felt like you were in a bubble of whatever the decade that you were in. You really did feel like you were in the bubble of that.
It will that will answer itself. That will answer itself. Yes, that will be part of our show. The answer to why are we doing all these decades, and why do we transition?
You're an unusual couple.
Oh, I don't think that was ever in question.
We just don't know what to expect.
I must say that Vision, it's a beautiful character. In fact, it's my favorite character.
Oh, good. Thank you very much.
For real. And he's always calm, and he's very wise. And now in the series, and for the very first time, we can see a Vision that is funny. And the papaya joke is simply great, and everything is great. And he's living the American dream in the suburbs, the perfect house, the beautiful and lovely wife. So what do you think about this aspect about Vision, that it's very funny and it's tragic at the same time?
Yes. Gosh, you're really clever. Yeah, you've got it. Yes, I think that that Vision is, it's exactly as you described. He's really funny, but it's absolutely tragic. What I love about Vision and what I was worried about, here's what I was worried about with Vision. I was worried that it was going to be so unrecognizable. But then because you suddenly got these new things, new influences, and I thought, actually, Vision's always been like that. You know, he's Ultron, he's Jarvis, he's a bit of Tony Stark, and then he's born as this sort of naive, omnipotent ingenue, and then by Civil War, he's really trying to understand humanity, and in the process, by the time we get to Endgame, he's sort of ironically the most human, even though he's a android. And then in this, I thought, actually, that's all the same. We're just adding a bit of Dick Van Dyke in, you know, and a little bit of Hugh Laurie and a little bit of Bryan Cranston, and it can absorb that, because at the very center of Vision is that he is decent and kind and generous, and so it was a real stretch for me to play.
Vision, we are an unusual couple. We don't have a song or even wedding rings.
Well, we could rather do that. I do. Do you?
I do.
There is a key moment in the third episode that we are able to see a transition by a 16:9 shot instead of the old 4:3 aspect ratio for the classic television. So why is that? It's a very interesting decision, because the audience can really notice that the story is going to change. But why do you decide to do this with the aspect ratio?
The whole show is an exploration of form, and that exploration of form is actually part of the narrative. It's part of how the story develops and how we understand the worlds. And so there's a lot of exploration of that throughout the whole show, and I'm excited you noticed it, and there'll be more to come.
Wanda, what's up?
Who are you?
I don't know.
In the comic books, Monica actually has superpowers, and she can manipulate and transform herself, and her name is Captain Marvel. So I know you can't spoil anything, and that's great, but how much of the Monica from the comics we will see in WandaVision and in the MCU's future?
I can say that I definitely went to the comics and used the comics as my source material in what I wanted to bring to Monica Rambeau as an adult, because we got to meet her in Captain Marvel as a young girl, and so I also pulled from Akira Akbar, the actress's performance, things from there, and I wanted to be able to fuse that with my own ideas of who Monica is, as well as those of the creatives. And then so essentially WandaVision becomes Monica Rambeau's origin story in the MCU. So I think that's really cool, and that fans are going to have a great time piecing together how and what her presence will be in the future of the MCU. But yeah, that's that.
So what's a single gal like you doing rattling around this big house?
Well, I assure you, I'm married to a man, a human one.
A lot of people think that Agnes actually is Agatha Harkness, and I know you can't confirm or deny that, but I would like to know, what have you heard about your character? You know, have you read a crazy fan theory about your character, or you are just like, no, I'm not gonna read anything?
Well, I'm like blessedly off the internet. I don't have any social media, but which my kids make fun of me for all the time, but who cares? But anyway, but I know I have heard some theories.
Okay.
And I'll just say, like, I love the passion of so much. I love the passion of the fans. I'm so excited for them to be continue to be surprised and continue to be surprised, because I mean, this show unfolded for me even as like a newbie to this world in so many unexpected ways. So I can only imagine how exciting it is going to be for people that are well versed in this world. So I'm just very excited.
Look, it's the star of the show.
I'm sorry?
And what's your favorite decade in WandaVision to play?
It's so funny. I feel like every time I answer this question, I say a different decade just because they're all just so much ridiculous amount of fun. Like even the Malcolm in the Middle, like odds kind of cynical humor was fun. And so was the Brady Bunch 70s. And I just think the 70s episode was fun just because I got to give birth on camera.
Yeah,
in a sitcom fashion.
Yeah, it's a great episode.
I would say probably the 50s were for me it would be the 50s just because of the live studio audience and because it was so the most distant from my own experience that was, I think, as an actor the most fun. I would actually maybe say that would be hers as well. It was really fun.
Okay.
Get to know my new friend, Wanda.
I know we need to pay attention to every single detail in the series because everything means something. You know, I'm thinking in Vision's tie, the newspaper, the calendar, decoration, or even the commercial with the Stark and Hydra's products that are so exciting. So how do you decide or how do you control all these little but important details in a big production like WandaVision?
It is a puzzle. The whole thing is a little puzzle box, and it is a mystery. And there is great intentionality to all of those things that you're talking about. And I'm excited for viewers to lean in and pick those details up and figure it out as they go along.
Okay, so thank you very much, Matt, for this interview and WandaVision. It's great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thank you very much for this series. It's great. It's genius.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wanda, can you read me?
And they lived happily ever after.